Morning all. Only 20 to 30 people have joined. Why it is so? Because I'm not taking attendance. Okay, so shall we start? So in today's class, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Screen is visible, right? So we have started the consolidation, right? So and we have seen that how the consolidation takes place. So we have seen the definition of the consolidation. It is the expulsion of water from a soil due to the long-term loading, okay, not the short-term loading, long-term loading, and it is expulsion of water. And we have seen that initial consolidation, primary and the secondary. Primary consolidation is very important, okay. Secondary consolidation takes a lot of time, okay, due to readjustment of particle, and initial consolidation may be due to the expulsion of air and so on, okay. So primary consolidation is very important. When I'm talking about consolidation, it means I'm talking about the primary consolidation only. And we have seen some video also how we can conduct the consolidation, and why this consolidation is important, because soil will try to settle down, okay, because of the heavy load, long-term loading or buildings. So slowly expulsion of water takes place. Because of that, soil will settle down. So this thing can be measured with our different stresses we apply, and we can find out the settlement or displacement or the change in the thickness and so on, okay. So that's what we have seen, and we have seen that we can draw the E log P curve, okay. So why we have to use log, I have explained you to make this particular curve straight. We use log here, okay, you log P curves. And so likewise we can make it, okay, log when you use the log. And I have explained you that uh, loading unloading also we will do, okay, in the laboratory. So first all the loading, then we remove the loading, then soil will follow this unloading pattern, again reloading we can do it, and so on, okay. uh, so that's how we do, and we'll measure. And in today's class we'll see some definition, basic definitions, okay. So what generally we measure in the laboratory. Okay, 53 people have joined. So are you able to see now? Fine. Should I proceed? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So we will see some basic definitions, okay. So these definitions are very important. They'll ask in all competitive exams, GATE and other exams, okay. So what is the mean by consolidation, and based on the ELAG curve we will have some definitions, okay. The first definition is the coefficient of compressibility. So the coefficient of compressibility is represented with the AV, is defined as the decrease in the void ratio, okay, per unit increase in the effective stress, okay. It is a decrease in the void ratio because of the consolidation, decrease in void ratio takes place with increase in the effective stress. It is also equal to the E stress curve point under the, so it is the slope of the curve, this curve, slope of this curve. This is the AV, okay. So it can be like this. The slope of this curve is called the AV, coefficient of compressibility. Okay. So what is the units of this coefficient of compressibility? It will be generally meter square by kilonewton. Okay. The effective stress increases, the void ratio decreases, and therefore the ratio this becomes the is negative. For decreasing, we are showing with a negative. But sometimes no minus sign we will take it out and make it as a positive also for our convenience. Okay. So this is called the coefficient of compressibility. Next, one more term is called the coefficient of volume change. Okay, coefficient of volume change. So the coefficient of volume change or volume compressibility is defined as the volumetric strain per unit increase in the effective stress. What is volumetric strain here? I'm talking about strain, not volumetric change, not change. Okay, strain is defined as change in the volume by original volume. Okay, so again it is represented with the minus sign, and delta V change in the volume strain by original volume divided by change in the effective stress. Understand? It is represented with the MV. Okay, coefficient of volume change. V naught is the initial volume, delta V is the change in the volume, delta sigma bar is the effective stress, change in effective stress. Okay, wherever delta is the change, we have to see change. Okay, again this also can be represented as, okay, MV, generally the values being given, okay, 10 to the power minus 3 to 10 to the power minus 4 meter square per kilonewton. Okay, volumetric strain can be expressed in the other form like void ratio or thickness. We have seen this definition. Okay, so this change in void delta V by V naught can be written as the let the E naught be the initial void ratio. Okay, and the volume of solids be unity 1. Therefore, the initial volume V naught is equal to 1 plus E naught. If you recall our phase diagram, okay, from the phase diagram you will get the initial volume as 1 plus E naught. Okay, if delta E is change in the void ratio due to change in the volume delta V, we can retain as delta V is equal to delta E, and this particular equation can be written as delta V by V naught is equal to delta E by 1 plus E. 1 plus is the initial volume. Okay, so this equation also important. Sometimes they will ask in the exams, okay, delta V by delta V naught, void ratio they will give, initial void ratio they will give, change in void ratio they will give. They may ask to find the V naught, initial volume, and so on. Okay, so you remember these equations. Okay, can be written and in the depth also, delta H by H naught. Okay, as the area of cross section of the sample in the consolidation remains same, that means area is same, only what is happening there, thickness is changing. So the change in the volume is also proportional to change in the height. So delta V can be written as delta H also. Okay, so delta V by V naught is equal to delta H by H naught. H naught is the initial height. So these formulas you should remember these things. Okay, so what is delta V and delta naught and can be written as, so this is all about the coefficient of volume change. This is the coefficient of compressibility. Okay, wherever volume is coming, we are volumetric strain divided by change in the effective stress. Now coming to the again they have shortlisted, or sorry, short form they have written it. Okay, and the relations again from these two relations. Okay, and they have written in this form, and finally we can write this AV by AV. What is the relation between AV and ME? Okay, so AV, from this we can get the AV. AV we know already. Okay, coefficient of compressibility by divided by 1 plus E naught will give the MV. Okay, now compression index. So the compression index CC is equal to the slope of the linear portion of the void E log P curve. Here this one, okay, this is the compression CC, compression index. So for our convenience we made it like a straight line. So E log P curve, okay, change in the void ratio and change log sigma, the whatever slope you get it's called CC. Okay, that's what it is given here. Compression index CC is equal to slope of the linear portion of the void ratio versus a log P, E log P plot. Okay, whatever we have seen. So again it is in a negative form. So where sigma naught is initial effective stress and sigma is the final effective stress, and delta E is a change in the void ratio. Okay, sometimes it also can be expressed in this way. Here, this is the initial one, sigma naught. Okay, this is the final one. How will get the final one? When you add the change in the effective stress. Understand? So log 10 E sigma naught is the initial effective stress. This is the final one. Okay, final effective stress. How will you get the final effective stress? When you add the change in the effective stress. That's so we can write in this way or we can write in this way. Okay, and the numerical value of CC can be easily determined from the difference in the void ratio corresponding to 1 lakh cycle. Okay, for 1 lakh cycle can be written as like this, or generally the values also been given. Okay, this Terjagi and the Peck, the compression index of a clay is related to the index property, especially the liquid limit. So once you know the liquid limit, suppose, okay, can we find out this CC, the compression index? We can find out, okay. This Terjagi and the Peck given the following empirical relations, okay, for a for a clay of medium to low to medium sensitivity. So we have seen the sensitivity, right? So what is the sensitivity? Remolded strength by original strength, right? So sensitivity we know. Okay, that means once we know this liquid limit for undisturbed soil, CC can be determined as 0.09 WL by 10. For a remolded soil, 0.07. So this equation also you should remember. Okay. So generally, in this particular chapter, okay, you have to remember so many equations for consolidation. So and these equations are very easy also for remembering. Okay, once you understand the concept. So, but in the case of shear strength, we need to remember only few equations. Okay, shear strength is equal to C plus sigma tan phi, and few equations if you remember, you can draw the Mohr circle and you can find out. Okay, like in the first chapter, you have to remember few equation and you have to see some derivations also. Okay, so CC can be determined from the liquid limit also. Okay, that's what it is given. Okay, fine. So that now again the value of CC normally varies in between the 0.3 for a highly plastic clay and 0.075 for a low plastic clay. The compression index is also related to in situ void ratio and the water content or water content. Okay, once you know the in situ void ratio can be determined CC is equal to 0.54, enactment 0.35. CC is equal to 0.0054 to the water, okay, water content, initial water content minus 35 will give, or coefficient of compressibility may be calculated from the compression index. Okay, so there are some equations also given. AV can be written as 0.435 CC divided by sigma is the average here pressure for the increment. Okay, so likewise we can measure and correlate these terms. So these are the basic terms generally when you conduct a consolidation test. Coefficient of compressibility, coefficient of induction, okay, compression, and so on, volumetric change, and so on. We have to determine. Now expansion index. What is this expansion index or a swelling index? So CE, we call it as the expansion. CE is the slope of a E-log P plot obtained during the unloading process. BEC in the figure. Okay, so look at this. What it is? Expansion index. So BEC, unloading. So slope of this curve, unloading curve. Okay, because it is expanding, we are unloading it. That's the reason it is expanding it. Okay, so slope of a BEC is called the expansion index, and recompression index also we can call it. Again, we are loading it, CFB. Okay, recompression index. Okay, after expansion index, this is the slope of that one, unloading. Okay, here we are here we are given positive plus sign. Okay, because it is expanding. So expanding we have taken positive, compression we have taken negative. So recompression, again negative. Okay, recompression is the compression of a soil which had already been loaded and unloaded, loaded and unloaded, again reloading. Okay, so that during the recompression is less than the load to which the soil has been subjected. Okay, so the load which is subjected is previously it is subjected more. Again, we are just again applying the load. So the slope of the recompression curve is obtained CFD. That's what we have seen there. Okay, CFD. CFD. Recompression index. Okay, minus delta by, again here we are adding the extra term, changing the effective stress. Okay, the recompression index is appreciably smaller than the compression index, definitely. Okay, so slope would be smaller, and it is usually in the range of 1/10 to 1/5 of the compression index. Recompression index is usually in the range of 1/10 to the 1/5 of the compression index. Now, there are two types of the soil generally we discuss in a clay soil. So this thing, whatever you are seeing, everything we are discussing with respect to clay soil only here, because consolidation takes place in clay soil. As we have seen the curve, the dissipation of water takes place sand very quickly. We can't call it as consolidation. Consolidation means expulsion of the water for a long term. Okay, because these are sandy soils, then gravel soils are more having more permeability, so expulsion of water takes place very quickly, and settlement also takes very quickly. Okay, so we will not call it as consolidation. Consolidation name itself shows that this is the expulsion of water due to long-term loading, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 100 years. Okay, so here in the clay soil we have two types actually: normally consolidated clay, over consolidated clay. So when we have to call this normally consolidated clay and when we have to call over consolidated clay, that we'll see now. Okay, a normal consolidated soil is one which had not been subjected a pressure greater than the present existing pressure. That means we have started applying some pressure to the soil. Okay, and when we call it is a normally consolidated soil, the soil is one which had not been subjected to pressure greater than the present whatever pressure we are applying it, it is not subjected more than that previously. That particular soil is called the normally consolidated soil. A soil is said to be over consolidated if it had been subjected in the past a pressure in excess of the present. That means the particular soil is subjected to more pressure. Suppose now we are applying 50 kPa. Okay, but previously it has been subjected to 100 kPa. Then it is called the over consolidated soil. Hope you are following the difference. Okay, normally consolidated clay and the over consolidated clay. Normally consolidated soil is one which had not been subjected to a pressure greater than the present existing pressure, and a soil is said to be over consolidated if it had been subjected in the past a pressure in excess of the present pressure. That means in the present what we are applying, if it had been subjected more than that, then we say that it is a over consolidated clay. So these terms are very important: normally consolidated and the over consolidated. Okay, portion AB in the curve represent the normal consolidation, right? So in the curve beginning AB, whatever you see is this is normal consolidation. Okay, normal consolidation. Again, what we are doing, unloading it. Then CB. What is CB is called now? Because this soil is subjected more pressure than that one. This is over consolidated. Okay. Now the portion AB represent the soil is normally consolidated. The curve in this range is also called virgin compression curve. That then first time it is subjected to the compression. That's why we call it as a virgin compression curve. Okay. The soil in the range of CD when it is recompressed represent the over consolidation condition, the CD, as the soil had been previously subjected to a pressure sigma 2 which is greater than the present one, is called the over consolidation. The maximum this is the CD, okay? These points because it is already subjected to more pressure. Now there is one more definition is called the over consolidation ratio here, OCR. Are you able to see OCR? Here the maximum pressure to which over consolidated soil had been subjected in the past divided by the present pressure is known as the over consolidation ratio. It is a very important definition, okay? The maximum pressure to which an over consolidated soil had been subjected in the past divided by the present pressure is known as the over consolidated ratio. That means some soil will be having over consolidation ratio values. How much it is subjected previously, how much we are subjecting now. For example, the soil indicated by the point C has an over consolidation ratio of sigma 2 by sigma. Sigma 2 is the previous which is subjected, sigma 1 is the now it is subjected. Understand? So that's what it is given. Then you can read this para. So it may be emphasized that the normally consolidated soil or consolidated are not different types of soil, but these are the condition in which the soil exists. That means don't confuse it. Okay, it's not a different kind of soil, same soil, but we call it as normally consolidated soil and the over consolidated soil based on the load it is or the pressure it is subjected. Okay. So same type of soil can behave as normally consolidated in a certain pressure range and an over consolidated in the other pressure range. For example, in the figure, the soil which behaves as the over consolidated in the range of CD would again behave as the normal consolidation in the range of DG. Okay. So here, what is happening? Because this pressure, more pressure has been subjected here up to here over consolidated side. Again, if we are subjecting more, the first time it is subjected DG, the first time again subjected that much pressure. Okay, here look at the pressure. Then again it is called the normal consolidated. BG again called it a normal consolidation. From here A to B, normal consolidation. So these things are over consolidation, whatever load it is subjected, because more than that it is subjected. Then BG can again be called it as a normally consolidation. That's what it is mentioned. Hope you are following. Okay, it is very simple. Just one reading is enough. Okay, the liquidity index of a normal consolidated clay is generally between the 0.6 and the 1, whereas that for a over consolidation clay is 0 to 0.6. As the recompression index is very small as compared to the compression index, the soil in the over consolidated state have smaller compressibility. The settlement of the structure built on over consolidated clays are small. That means because it is already subjected to more pressure, so always we can I mean the safer on the over consolidated side. Okay, so under consolidated clay, if the clay deposit has not reached equilibrium under the applied core consolidated load, overburden load, it is said to be under consolidated. This is normally occurs in the areas of recent landfill. That means, so under consolidation, still consolidation didn't take place. Okay, if the clay deposit has not reached equilibrium under the applied overburden loads, it is said to be under consolidated. This normally occurs in the areas of recent landfill. That means we have just dumped some soil, okay, clay soil, and it has subjected to some load. Then we call it as a it is under consolidation. Okay, very recent under consolidation. Hope you have followed these definitions, which are very important. Okay, so try to understand this particular chapter. What we are doing is we have one clay layer, okay, or a clay sample in a consolidated odometer. We call it as a odometer. Okay, so here we have seen odometer, right? Here what we are doing here, we are just deriving the drawn the ELAP P curve. We have seen it, and we are seeing some basic definition. This is called the odometer. Okay, so consolidation tester, we call it as odometer also. Somewhere it may be written. Say, look at consolidation or an odometer. So what we are doing here is we are defining some definitions important. We are seeing some basic definition. Now, Terzaghi theory of consolidation. Terzaghi has given some theory for a consolidation. Okay, and he has given some assumptions also. Then we will derive and see that equations. Okay, so gave the theory for determination of the rate of consolidation of a saturated soil mass subjected to a static steady load. Okay, the load is static here, not dynamic. In the compaction, load can be dynamics. A roller can be dynamics. You can apply the dynamic load in the compaction for expulsion of the air from the soil. Here the load is static. Always remember. There is a major difference between the compaction and the consolidation. They will ask in the interview what is the difference between the compaction and the consolidation. What is the difference between compaction and consolidation? Compaction can be a dynamic process, short-term process, and it is the expulsion of air from the soil. Here in the consolidation, soil would be in a saturation condition, 100% saturation, S equal to 1 degree of saturation, and it is the expulsion of water from the soil due to the long-term load, not the short-term load, due to the long-term load. Understand? So there are some assumptions given here. One is the theory is based on the following assumptions. First assumption is the soil is homogeneous and the isotropic. That anyway we assume it, the soil generally won't be there homogeneous and it won't be isotropic, but we assume it. Okay, soil is homogeneous and isotropic. The soil is fully saturated. This is also one more assumption. It's not partially saturated in consolidation. We assume that soil is fully saturated. Degree of saturation is 1 in consolidation. So for determining the rate of consolidation, we should know, right, what is the rate of consolidation. So what is the use of studying consolidation then once we don't know the rate of the consolidation? Then solid particles and water in the voids are incompressible. Anyway, water is incompressible and we assume that solid particles also incompressible. The consolidation occurs due to the expulsion of water from the voids, not the air. Okay, the consolidation occurs due to the expulsion of water from the air. The coefficient of permeability of the soil has the same value at all the points and it remains constant during the entire period of consolidation. So coefficient of permeability, already we know that the K of a soil has the same values at all the points. It cannot be, okay, but these are our assumption. So coefficient of permeability is same all along the points and it remains constant. Okay. So Darcy's law is valid throughout the consolidation process. What is the Darcy's law? Velocity is directly proportional to the hydraulic gradient. V is directly proportional to I, or V is equal to Ki. K is the coefficient of permeability. Already we have seen that Darcy's law. Okay. Then soil is laterally confined and consolidation takes place only in the axial direction. That means only one direction. Okay, drainage of water occurs only in the vertical direction. We assume that this soil expulsion of water takes place in axial direction. This is for our convenience only. Okay, if you take three-dimensional, generally water would be expelled in all three dimensions, X, Y, Z, and okay. But we assume that the expulsion of water takes place in the vertical direction only because these are the assumptions and very important. Okay, some people may ask you in the interview that what are the assumption of the Terzaghi's assumption in the consolidation theory. You should say that the expulsion of water takes place vertically only, in one direction only. The Terzaghi has assumed it, but it's not the case actually. So these are all just assumptions. Okay, and soil is homogeneous and the soil is saturated, fully saturated. The coefficient of permeability is same in all the directions, and the Darcy's law also valid. Okay, throughout the process. Then the time lag in the consolidation is due to entirely to the low permeability of soil. The time lag in consolidation is due to entirely to the low permeability of the soil. The soil is having low permeability. Okay, there is a unique relationship between the void ratio and the effective stress, and this relationship already we have seen. Okay, remains the constant during the load increment. In other words, coefficient of compressibility and coefficient of volume changes are constant. Okay, we say that everything goes smoothly. Okay, everything is constant. It won't changes with the geometry or location. So that's what it is. Assumed it. Okay. So now, so these are just we'll see some comments and we'll stop today. Okay. Here, the assumption made by Terzaghi are not fully satisfied in actual field conditions, okay, field problems. The results obtained from the use of theory to practical problems are approximate. Definitely, it is approximate. However, considering the complexity of the problem, the theory gives reasonably accurate estimate of the time, rate of settlement of structure built on a soil. A brief comment on the various assumptions are given. That means whatever we are seeing just approximation, but it is observed that it gives very good result. The rate of consolidation also it will measure. So assumption 1 and 3 are generally satisfied for fully saturated site clay deposit. However, the presence of air may affect the accuracy. Sometimes what happens, no, we assume that fully saturation, but there may be some air in the water. Okay. Then assumption 4 to 5 are not fully satisfied. In fact, the coefficient of permeability varies at the different points in the deposit. Okay, that's what we have explained. I have explained you. So its value decreases as the consolidation process progresses due to the increase in the effective stress. Further, at very low hydraulic gradient, the Darcy's law is not strictly applicable. Okay, so where the water takes place very slowly, okay, Darcy's law cannot be valid. Okay, fortunately, the error introduced due to these assumptions are very small actually, so that we can still use this theory. So largest error is probably due to the assumption 6. What is that 6? Soil is laterally confined and so drainage takes place in vertical direction. Yeah, that is the in the field actually the consolidation usually three-dimensional and not in one dimension. Okay. However, in the case of deposits having large areas compared to their thickness have the essential one-dimensional consolidation and error is not much. So sometimes what happens, no, it generally takes place three-dimensional. Okay. But in the case of deposit having large areas, okay, compared to their thickness, so sometimes consultation may take is one direction also. So assumption 7 is not also fully satisfied because some secondary consolidation does occur along the primary consolidation. Okay. So then we assume that only primary consolidation means primary consolidation, but there may be secondary consolidation also. Okay. And the actual relation between the void ratio and effective stress is not linear. Okay, so however because this whatever graphs you are seeing is not linear, right? We ourselves are made it a linear graphs. Okay, it's not necessary that it's very linearly changes, void ratio changes, this also changes linearly. So anyway, with that we have approximate solution, and this solution can be used for our finding the derivations. Anyway, maybe next class we'll see this derivation of differential equations. Okay, so we will take one clay here, which is sandwiched between these two sand layers. Okay, this is the clay. It is sandwiched between the two layers, sand layers, and we are applied here the stress sigma, delta sigma, increasing stress we have applied it. Okay, so this we will see in the next class. Okay, so try to read, try to understand this subject, and one reading is enough for your understanding. It's not very difficult. Okay, and this particular